Hello and welcome to Guns and Gear. I'm going to do a video today on how I choose and what I consider when choosing a firearm for home defense, and in particular a handgun. Alright, there's many things that I consider when choosing a handgun for home defense. I thought I would make a vid and kind of go over a few of those things with you. Okay, now for me, I consider caliber, and I consider the size of the weapon and the controls of the weapon. And we'll be talking about that as I go through several of these guns. Now, as far as caliber, I like to stick to major self-defense calibers. Okay, these are calibers that have been tried and proven, and the ammunition is plentiful, okay, for self-defense specifically. Now, calibers that I would consider would be like 38 Special, 357 Magnum, of course, 9mm, 40 Smith & Wesson, 45 ACP, 10mm. That would be the majority of the calibers that I would consider. Now, there are others out there. 357 SIG comes to mind. It's an excellent caliber. I just don't happen to have a weapon in that caliber. 45 Colt, 44 Special. Those, once again, are excellent calibers, but their selection of both guns that are suited for defense and the ammunition isn't as plentiful. So that's things that you need to consider. Okay, secondly would be the size. Okay, I prefer larger size guns for home defense. Concealability isn't a top priority, and therefore the larger handguns, in my opinion, are better, and mainly because they're easier to shoot. Now, I know that there's going to be somebody that's going to comment and tell me that he's got a Glock 27 and he can shoot an entire magazine in about 0.2 seconds and make a 1-inch group at 50 yards. Well, God bless you. But just think what you could do with a full-size gun. Okay, you'd be able to shoot it better. You can't take science out of the equation. A heavier gun, a gun that you can get a better purchase with your hand, affords you more controllability. Okay, but now a gun can be too big. Okay, and can become too unwieldy or too powerful. Okay, so you have to think about that. You have to think about where you live. You know, I live in a working class neighborhood. Okay, our yards aren't big, but our houses aren't really stacked on top of each other either. But still, I have to worry about over-penetration. I have to worry about having a round, a caliber that's too powerful. Okay, so consideration in the ammunition is also just as important. All right, well, let's take a look at a few of the examples that I have here. Now, right here is it's a Model 57, and I've showed this in several videos. This is a Smith & Wesson 41 Magnum with an 8 3/8 inch barrel. Now, that's an excellent firearm, okay, and it's very accurate. But it has a very high power rating, okay. 41 Magnum is a very powerful round, and the 8 3/8 inch barrel might make it unwieldy in certain self-defense situations that you may find yourself in your home, okay. So it wouldn't be my first choice. All right. Secondly, we have right here is a Smith & Wesson M P, and that's the 9mm compact, and that is an excellent firearm for concealed weapons carry, and it can be pressed into service as a home defense gun also. But for me, I can't get my whole hand wrapped around that grip. Okay, and it's a little bit shorter. It's a little bit snappy. I can shoot it well, but I can shoot the larger guns better, and so it wouldn't be my first choice either. Now, second gun we have here is a Ruger, and that's a Vaquero in 45 Colt. The caliber is an excellent caliber for defense, okay, but not so much in this configuration. This is a single action gun, and I know, once again, there'll be guys out there that say, hey man, I got my cowboy action gun and I can do some pretty amazing things with it. And there's probably a good case that can be made for that. But if there's a requirement of reloading, this design really suffers because you can only unload one round at a time. You can only load one round at a time, and you know, that is a deficiency of the design. So once again, would not be my first choice. Now we have a Glock 19, and the Glock 19 is an excellent firearm, and it sort of fits in a role where it is a good weapon for concealed carry, and it's a decent weapon to have for home defense. Okay, because it is big enough that you can get a good purchase on the handgun, and it aids in the controllability. And whether it's the 19 or the 23, the 40 Smith & Wesson counterpart, or the 357 SIG counterpart, they're excellent handguns. But once again, if I have a choice, I'm going to choose one that's a little bit bigger, got a little bit more heft to it, and allows me more controllability. Now here we have a North American Arms, and it's in 380, and this is an excellent backup weapon, okay? And that is what it was designed for. And in that role, it's excellent. But it would not be my first choice as a home defense handgun. Both the caliber suffers in its power factor, okay? Now, when me and my wife were first married, and she had no experience with guns, I got her up to the point where she could shoot some full-size 380s, and I have a couple of Beretta 380s, and one of them has the expanded frame to allow a double stack magazine, and that gave her some firepower. But as soon as she could get comfortable and proficient shooting 9mm, we unloaded those guns and put them back in the safe. She had a 9mm, and today she uses a 40 Smith & Wesson. And matter of fact, this next gun right here is that gun that is her favorite home defense gun. This is another M P, and this is in 40 Smith & Wesson, and this is their full-size gun. 40 Smith & Wesson is an excellent caliber. I'm warming up to it. I know I have several guns in 40 Smith & Wesson, but I got to tell you, I'm a 10mm fan, and I never quite understood why they wanted to sap some of its energy and make a 40 Smith & Wesson, but you know, here we go. To me, this is a 38 special of semi-automatics. But hey, it's very effective. The police love it, you know, and I'm warming up to it. All right, over here we have another example of a gun that might be able to fit two roles. I originally bought this gun for concealed weapons carry. It's a Ruger SP-101. It's a 357 Magnum, but I keep it loaded with 38 plus Ps because that's what my wife can handle the best. Okay. It's a hefty little gun. It's an all metal frame, and it's a good gun to have. It would not be my first choice, but it is a choice that can be considered for both concealed weapons carry and for home defense. Now conversely, this next gun right here, which is much larger and much heavier, is another Smith & Wesson revolver, and it's in 45 ACP. Now my wife likes that gun, and my wife shoots it well. And these are considerations that you have to take. It's not all about what gun you can shoot well, but what gun we all in the household that will be expected to deploy a firearm, how well they can shoot the gun also. And you know, 45 ACP is just an excellent defense round, and she shoots it well, and this is one of the weapons we keep loaded in our house. Now this next gun brings up some more considerations. This is a 1911. It is the Para-Ordnance Night Tac, and it is the gun that I keep for home defense loaded. I am a huge fan of the 1911 design. I think it's one of the better designs that's ever come out. In my opinion, John Moses Brown really hit one out of the park when he designed this gun, and the gun that he later designed, the high power, is another home run hit. But it requires a different skill set that you have to have, and it's a consideration that you must take before choosing the gun. Now I started out with 1911s. Those were the first pistols, semi-autos, that I ever shot. And over a lifetime of shooting, a lifetime of competitive shooting, and a lifetime of just training for self-defense and for concealed weapons carry, I have the skill set, I have the muscle memory to deal with this one little lever right here, this safety, which is an issue. See, this Smith & Wesson M P don't have it, this Glock don't have it, these revolvers, they don't have it. all right? And so if these are what you started with, you may have started with a Glock, and it's a fine gun, and you want to buy a 1911, and you want to consider that gun for home defense. I would suggest you keep this gun unloaded until you build that skill set up, and you get that through the proper instruction and the follow-up training and practice that you need to build that muscle memory. When I draw any of these guns, my thumb is already going where this safety lever is, because that's just a habit of mine, okay? It has no consequence whatsoever with the other guns, but it automatically is looking for that shelf on top of this lever right here where that safety is located. And you know, all the time that I have spent shooting, it automatically sits on top of that shelf, and it'll depress the lever before I fire. Okay, drawing, acquiring the target, safety is off, and fire. I have that muscle memory. But if you don't, you need to acquire that competence. You need to get that confidence in knowing that, because you certainly don't want to squeeze on a trigger and the gun not go off when you need it the most. Now, this is not about egos, okay? This is not about egos. It's about picking guns that fit your competence level and the competence level of the other folks that live with you that may be expected to use these guns. These should be your first considerations, okay? Now, if you want to add something that requires a different skill set, you need to practice with that. The other folks in your household need to practice with that. They need to get that training, and they need to get that competence, okay? So these are just some of the things that I consider when I am choosing a handgun for defense. Now, my darling bride has an advantage that she has several guns that she can choose from. And most folks may not have the same type of advantage. So these are considerations that you must take if you're going to purchase a gun specifically for defense. Okay? Well, these are just a few of my thoughts. Thought I would share them with you guys. And as always, thank you for watching. Please comment. I would like to hear what's on other people's minds. And with that, remember, shoot straight on the range and in life. Thanks.